Welcome to the Thunder Nerds. I'm Janelle Pizarro.
And I'm Frederick Philip Von Weiss, and thank you for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology that love what they do.
And do tech good.
Pow! Yeah. Explosion! Boom! We're doing tech.
It's my first time! I did it! Yay!
You did it. Yeah, high five. Wow. Nice. That was really good. We didn't even plan that. So why don't we just go ahead and before we introduce our guest, get the elephant out of the room. We are going to announce the winner of the Front End Design Conference ticket. Are you guys ready?
We got to do ready? A drum roll.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to do it in a little bit, so we'll get back to that. So let's go ahead and welcome our guest today. We have Purpose Driven Communicator and Connector, Amanda Eyer. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
How's it going? Oh, it's been a long time. I'm so happy to see you.
Yeah, me too. I'm happy to see myself, but I'm happy to see you guys too.
If I was you, I'd be happy to see myself.
I'm really friendly with myself.
We'll get into that later. So what's up? What you been doing?
I just recently got a new job. Yeah, so I just finished 6 weeks with a new job, spent some time exploring careers and working with a career coach. And I've been in communications marketing on the digital side for about 15 years. So I thought it was time for a gut check to make sure I was in the right spot.
Nice. So you said a coach, like what kind of coach? Like a professional coach? Like how does one go out to seek this coaching? Is this something that you thought, you know what, let me do this and find out what I truly want to do?
I think I always enjoyed what I was doing, but it was really on a whim. So I took a public relations class in college and I really liked it. And I said, why don't that be my major? Why don't I just keep going down this path? And then digital, just the time that I entered the market, everything was starting from a digital perspective in terms of websites and then social apps, all of those things. So it just naturally happened for me that I ended up focusing on digital marketing. And I just was wondering if I maybe had fallen into something instead of something that was really deliberately what I was supposed to do.
Nice. Let me ask you really quick. I just want to go into your title of Purpose Driven Communicator and Connector. Do you mind just describing that a little bit for the people and that might not understand what that means?
Sure. So part of working with a career coach was figuring out what was most important to me so that I found the fit in terms of the next organization that I wanted to work with. So I was really looking for something that aligned with my purpose. And then also an organization that actually knows what their purpose is. So they're very purpose driven. They share that purpose with their team members. And I think that that's the basis for everything that we do from a communications perspective, is just always asking why. And there has to be, on each of your individual projects, there's a why, but then what's the bigger purpose? Why are we here? Why do we do what we do?
I have a question for you, Amanda.
You.
Okay, so this is going to be a little weird because we're going to kind of backtrack just a little bit, but I want to talk about maybe something that's in your room right now that you find really helps you out through your job, even if it's like something small like, a pen or a pencil or anything like that. But why does it mean a lot to you in your career path right now?
There's actually nothing like that in my area, my physical area. What I would say is that I've kind of made more of a personal shift. One of the things that I did as part of this career process is come up with a video internally of what my ideal day would be, what my ideal week would be, what my ideal life would be. And so in the morning when I get up, I play. It changes, but I play in my mind the video of ideally this is how my day is going to go. So I don't have anything physical that represents that visualization, but I think that's the most important thing that I'm doing right now that keeps me, it's a filter for decision making. In the same way, I think organizations need a purpose for why they do what they do and also to decide what we're not going to do. I that's helpful for me saying like, okay, it's 5:30. I got to leave the office because when I played my video for my ideal day, I was on the beach watching sunset or whatever those things are.
Yeah. So wait, how does that video go? If you don't mind kind of sharing that with us a little bit.
Sure. So it's changed quite a bit. Taking a step back, when I first started working with a career coach, I was actually kind of in a bad place. And most people who know me know that I'm really enthusiastic and I'm excitable and I'm just really high energy. But in October, I had gotten let go from my job, which was really hard for me because so much of who I am was what I did, which isn't necessarily healthy. You can have separation. And I didn't balance that very well. And I'd had a series of personal losses. I had two dogs. They were 16 and a half and 15, and they checked out within a couple months of each other. And then
Sorry.
I know. But now it's been 6 months. So I like had enough time to process it. But at the time I was like, oh, I'm just going to work more because the house was so quiet. And I also had some issues with my mom, and we didn't talk for about 5 months, and that was really hard. So everything was just kind of coming to a head for me, and that is probably why I went to the career coach, is that I had this emotional journey that I was going through, and then also professionally, I just wasn't sure that I was in the right spot. So part of the thing that we worked on was, what do you most want? What do you care about? What brings you joy? What makes you happy? And then articulating that from a visual perspective.
Yeah, it's very easy for us to hide in our work, find some kind of escape. I guess the same way people hide or escape rather in their hobbies, or go out to play golf, or go out to play cards with their buddies, or whatever it might be. But work is definitely one of those things that people could get addicted to. And then you tend to not focus on the things that might be actually important, or more important, like the people around you, your friends, your family.
Yeah. I think one of the things I learned was I'm always looking for internally, I'm always looking for a good job. Like, you did it. All right. And it's not external. I was always the one pushing myself. Like after we lost the second dog, I actually that was the only day I had planned to take off at my last job in a year. And then something came up, and they needed, the president of the United States actually asked us to come to a White House event. And so I ended up putting it all together and working with the team to make it happen. And that was the one day that I had taken off. But those things were happening all the time, and nobody asked me. There was always a reason, basically, for me to say my personal life is over here, but I want to do more from a work perspective.
I'm sorry. Let me. I think I might not have understood you correctly. You said the president of the United States asked you to do something.
Not me personally, but yes.
But the company. Which company are you talking about? What entity?
It was Tervis, and they had
a
house event, a Made in America event. It was a proclamation that Trump put together, and he was looking for different organizations that manufacture products in America.
Oh, nifty! That's kind of exciting.
It was exciting. Yes, it was very exciting.
Like, how was it to kind of be involved in going to the White House and like throwing yourself into like work, but also kind of, being like, okay, I need to work on being happy as well, right? Like, kind of have that marriage between happiness and work, and like, oh my gosh, I'm in the White House, right? Like,
well, I hadn't gotten laid off yet from that job, so I wasn't even thinking about it. I think I'm the kind of person who's always looking at, well, what's next? What do I get to do? What needs to be done? So for me, at that time, I was like, well, this is a great opportunity. It's great publicity for us. We got to make it happen. Regardless of the fact that we had 2 days notice, we need to pull it together.
Right.
So actually being at the White House was really surreal. One of the fun things we did is we took photos with the presidential portraits, and as if they were drinking a Tervis or drinking out of a Tervis. So that was kind of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a neat experience. I'm sure I'm not going to be invited back, but
well, let's not say never, because you never know.
Yeah, I didn't break anything, but I'll have to because there was live news feeds, and I ended up getting, they needed some people in the background when President Trump was actually signing the proclamation. So I had a ton of text messages. Not all of my friends and family members are supporters, so I had a lot of colorful language flying around on my phone. So
Sure, yeah, that's a hot topic, if you will.
yes.
Well, don't worry. This isn't about politics, so it's okay.
No, yeah, we're not going to talk about politics. Hey, do you mind if we just kind of go into a little bit about this video thing? Because I think that's a really interesting topic, and I'd like to be able to articulate that a little bit better for people that would also care to employ that tactic.
Sure. So I learned this tactic from my career coach that I've been working with, and she did a ton of different exercises with me. But basically, in the same way you would journal your ideal day, your ideal week, what you're most wanting. When you're finished with that process, she asks you to create a video. Okay, well, what would this look like if these were photos and they were stitched together? What would it be like? And then the idea behind it is you replay them. And it's the same with sports psychology in terms of visualization, where you visualize yourself achieving a goal, and then it makes it more likely you believe it, and it's more tangible. And the more you play it, the more it doesn't become a dream anymore. It's more like reality.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge thing. And if you've read The Secret by any chance or seen it on Netflix, it's a really cool way to have like the law of attraction actually like work in your life. And I totally think that's amazing that you've used that for the better of your life. That's really, really cool. Like you use that every day.
Yeah, I like when I get up in the morning, I just kind of replay. And my stuff is pretty simple, but the stuff that I was looking for, it was funny. A lot of the exercises I did related to my career, what I would end up doing is, oh, I see myself with my new dog, and we're at the celery fields hiking, and I'm helping my sister with her wedding. All of my stuff was personal because I think I'd been searching for such a long time for the right fit from a culture perspective that was easy for me. So I knew exactly when something was going to work or when it wasn't. But then the personal side of things was just a little unclear until I started doing some of these exercises.
Well, yeah, that's a great kind of way to find happiness or happiness hacks. And, sometimes we're so lost within ourselves, and it's hard to see where we're actually at a company or what our real aspirations are. We were talking to a guest maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Janelle will remember this. We'll put a link to the show notes. And she was talking about how, jealousy is a great indicator of what you want in life. And she was talking about how if you look at jealousy and consider it as a friend and not a foe, it's a clear way. When you have other emotions that could be fuzzy, you could look at that as a clear indicator of what you want in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah, she was pretty awesome. She definitely reminds me a lot of you right now. Kwan, I think is her name.
Yeah, Kwan.
Yes, I always I just want to make sure that I get her name right. But yeah, you guys seem like to have the same kind of vibe, which is super cool. So you should totally come to Front End Conf later on in the month to maybe meet her. I think that would be pretty nifty.
Oh, man,
Speaking of Front End Conf,
what about it?
I think we've got tickets that we're supposed to be giving away tonight.
We got tickets to the Front End Design Conference. Is that right, Janelle? A ticket?
Yeah.
We're giving it away?
Yeah, for free.
For free?
For free.
Daggum, for free. Should we give it away now?
I think so, yes. How about you decide on that one?
Okay, let's wait a little bit longer. So what other kind of happiness hacks might you have for us, Amanda? Do you have any other kind of things that we could think about to keep us from sliding down into, I don't want to say depression, but maybe I will.
I think everything's going to be a little bit different for everyone, but since I have a higher default. My baseline for contentment is a little higher than most people. But one of the things that I noticed within myself is if I was having an issue, jealousy as an example, or whatever those things, if it was an unpleasant feeling that I would label as unhappy, I would just stuff it down. So I'm like, oh, no, I'm happy. I don't want to, which is horrible, right? Yeah. It's hard, I think, for people that are naturally happy to go through. It's hard for everyone, like life doesn't come with a manual. But I think when you feel like, no, I'm supposed to be happy and you're not, you feel like you're not yourself. But for me, some of the clues are using my body as a compass. So if I'm more irritable, or if I'm basically all of those negative feelings are cues that I have to listen to and say, just to ask myself questions, like, well, why would this make me feel that? And so it's just taking a little bit more time to be self-aware. And also one of the things that I kind of struggled with was passing through those feelings instead of avoiding them. So letting it just wash over me, whether it's grief or just feeling anxiety or being uncomfortable, letting it happen, which was a little bit easier. And then some of the other stuff was really simple. There's things like, I don't know if you listen or read Gretchen Rubin, but she's got a ton of books on happiness. And so she talks a lot about a happiness map where and I can relate to a lot of it. Some of the stuff that she goes through is really basic self-care. And I have some of the same tendencies. Like if I'm hangry, I'm not as efficient. My decision making isn't as good if I don't get enough sleep. So some of the stuff is really basic, like making sure I drink enough water throughout the day. And then,
well, like, isn't that the saying, common sense isn't so common? Like you might not think of those things in the moment.
Well, you don't think that is affecting your creativity or your drive or your motivation or your mood as much as it is. And I also think that there's some people that, the last time I was on the show, we talked a little bit about I'm a sun worshiper. So when the sun rises, I'm ready to roll, and then when it sets, I'm ready for bed. And when you mentioned that you love rainy days, you could live in Portland, no problem. But some of that is just knowing yourself and knowing what you need.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. I mean, so something that you said about like, trying to question your happiness every day kind of reminded me of I don't know if you've ever watched Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah, I love that show.
It's so good. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah, with more.
It's so great, right? Like, anyway, the first season is my favorite. At any rate, so Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, a lot of it comes back to the saying of, this is what happy feels like. I shouldn't feel like this because this is what happy feels like, right? Like I should be happy even though I'm freaking out, right? Like, and that's really kind of, I think a lot of us go through that, we're like, you know what? Everything in my life is good. Why do I feel so bad? What is going on? Like, so I think that's amazing that you said that, because it kind of like, it really does kind of put that whole kind of what am I trying to say, kind of like mental stability that everybody's kind of struggling with that at all times, right? It's not just one person maybe like losing their job, or somebody who seems very perfect could be like going through depression or going through really terrible things in their life, right? And I just think that's amazing that like you're there and you're like, look, I ask myself questions every day and I'm amazing. Like I'm amazing. And I have to ask myself, hey, am I doing this right? And am I asking the right questions? And I'm mad because of something else. Maybe there's another underlying reason. And that's just incredible that you do that. And I kind of want to commend you for that. Pardon?
I was just going to say, I probably wouldn't do that if I didn't experience the discomfort over the last 6 months of like, well, what am I supposed to do? Am I in the right profession? How do I handle the loss of so many things that feel piled on each other? So I'd love to say that I just took the initiative to be a better person. But the truth is I was forced into it because I couldn't hide behind my work because I didn't have a job.
Well, I think however you get there, though, really is the key, really. Like, no matter how you get there, the point is that you got there, right? You ended up growing and learning and becoming this awesome person that we see today because of that challenge, right? So, I think you should kind of give yourself like a pat on the back for sure, because that's incredible. I kind of want to hug you and like you're in the computer, right? So like I'm just gonna like mini hug you.
Hug that Mac.
Hugs.
Well, we're all basically the same people. We have to remember that we're all humans. We all run the same OS. We all have feelings. We all need shelter. We all want to be loved. Yada yada yada. Right. So, and to your point, Janelle, that you never know what someone's going through. Somebody might look completely one way but have something else on the inside. And I think everybody has that thing. That thing that kind of hurts them a little bit, that whatever it may be that day, that week, that year. Like I would look at you and Amanda, and I would think that there's no way that you were ever sad or depressed. You just seem like the most happiest person to me ever.
Yeah. Somebody that I know has a way of phrasing exactly what you just said. And it was like, everyone's got this shamed child inside of them. So just like there's some, whatever it is, it's just funny the way that you put that, but yeah. It's always
go for it. Sorry.
Growing and learning a little bit about yourself. And then I feel like the other thing too, with being more self-aware, you notice those things more in other people. There's one other thing that just in terms of having a happiness default, I think, a lot of happiness studies, they talk a lot about gratitude, keeping a gratitude journal, being able to look back and say, I'm thankful for these specific things. And
love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then, of course, like I always see things to extreme. I think one of the reasons that I also struggled, that I could relate to something Janelle had said, was I always feel like I shouldn't own my feelings because I don't have a right based on, hey, I have a roof over my head, I've got food to eat. So like, it's one of those things where there's always a balance. Like you can be grateful and acknowledge that you're going through a hard time. But for me, I struggled a little bit with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that have just that, a basic kind of depression, and there's people that actually have a lot more hardship than others, and some people just have mental issues as it is too. That reminds me too. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is I'm thinking back of somebody I used to work with that doesn't work at a company. Or got laid off from a company that was at a few years ago. And I always wondered what happened with them. And the culture at that company, and I won't name names, obviously, was a little, it was slightly kind of a bro-ish kind of culture. And, he communicated that he had some kind of mental issue. And I remember after that, people treated him a little bit different. And I was wondering, is there any time that people should talk about their emotions or their mental health issues with their employer? Like if you work with someone that has, I don't know, general anxiety or bipolar disorder or something like that, should that be something that they can feel comfortable talking to their employer and communicating that and saying, hey, just if this is like this, just I want you to know that this is this and that's why? Or is that something that people should probably keep more than to themselves? I hear a lot of different opinions on this matter, and I just wondered what your thought was.
I think it depends on the employer, because you definitely don't want to confide in someone and then have it used against you. Most organizations have some sort of mental health counseling or hotline, so that might be a better avenue. Or depending on the organization, human resources might be the right fit. I know I worked with one organization that actually had a psychology division for the work that they were doing. And
oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was not intended for employees. However, this person I actually got to be good friends with, and she had a little couch in her office, and she was like, oh, like just put your feet up, step right in, lay on my couch.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So people, I think there is this catharsis with having someone that you really trust and as a coworker that you can say, this is what I'm going through, and just having people that you can reach out to. I don't know that that's always private. And so it's one of those things where, how would you feel if that got around the office, and would that make you uncomfortable? Would you want your boss to know? A lot of this comes down to the relationship that you have with your colleagues and your supervisor, and also if it was a bro network, if that was the subculture, I don't know how comfortable they are.
Yeah, it was a weird place.
Well, I think having a work bestie really helps, for sure. Having that person that you can confide in about anything, right? Like you could be like, you know what? I can't stand my shoes today. They're pinchy. I don't understand why I have to wear high heels today. It's not fun. And then you like walk someplace and you talk about your shoes and it's the worst. But then you could also kind of like bond over what you're doing. Really can kind of help too with that, having those days where you're suffering from, mental health maybe, right? And I think mental health is really stigmatized in a lot of our industries, right? Not just, tech in general, but just throughout, I think, the United States as a whole. So yeah, it's a tough kind of topic, and it's a really good thing that you brought it up, Frederick, and awesome that you're like talking about it, Amanda. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I just to, like you were saying, like there's a stigma to it, and I think there's so many people that have those kind of issues. I was listening to this podcast today called Mr. Feels, and it's one of those kind of kin to like the Sad Boys. It's all about emotions, and they were talking about these two people were talking about their mental health issues and how they had these kind of problems come up at their places of work, and it was really interesting dialogue. We'll put a link to the show notes on that.
That's cool. Well, it does. I was just going to say, in terms of creativity, in your mental or physical health is off. I mean, you can't create, you can't collaborate. It's hard to cooperate. So, yeah, it definitely affects all of us.
Do you mind if I drive the conversation adjacent to what we're talking about right now? But I want to go back into your kind of career path, and I think the overall arch of what we're talking about today is culture and career development. So this question is kind of a group question, and I want to ask everybody. It's organic career path versus calculated choices. So, and I know this is something that you were thinking about, Amanda, like what do I want to do? Where do I want to go in my career? So how do we make the right choices in companies to invest our time in? These are people that we're going to partner with. We're going to live with them 8 hours a day, every day, except the weekends. And sometimes people do that as well. Are we going to find happiness in this career choice? And is making a career at only one company for a certain amount of years a good idea? Or should people jump around every 2 years, or is that even worse? But let's more focus on the first part, which is how do you find the career that makes you happy? And you could talk about your story, because obviously you have that.
I think everyone, when you're interviewing, right, everyone says, oh, tell me what the common thread is between these different positions. And the truth is, there's not one. You didn't know when you got your very first job out of college that fast forward 15, 18 years down the line, that you'd be where you are. So I think if people say that, it's not realistic. It's not true. And I also think there's this misconception that we're going to find happiness at work. Happiness isn't in a job. It's not in another person. You can be with the wrong person and be at the wrong job, and you can have some dissatisfaction there. But anyone who's experienced any hardship knows that it's really happiness comes from within. And so I think what you're looking for is just like when you're dating, you're looking or finding your soulmate. You have a certain set of values. This is who you are. This is what you believe, and this is what you want out of life. And what you're looking for are like minds to a point in terms of values. You don't want everyone to be cookie cutter, right? But I've been on the hiring side, and I've also been looking through this last quest. And I think the best you can do is just go with your gut. And I did go through the process of just listing out like these are all of my skill sets. These are that, and then prioritizing them. Like, this is what I most want to use in my next job, and these are the things that are deal breakers for me. I won't put up with this. So I think some of that is just doing your homework, and that definitely helps. But I will say that a lot of the positions that I've left, the last one, I didn't plan necessarily to leave them. Either I entered the job and it wasn't what was sold to me, or, I once had an awesome job where the client that I was dedicated to working with overspent their marketing budget by $1 million. Isn't that crazy? I'm like, what?
What the heck?
Carry the one? No. But yeah, that actually happened. It's insane. But yes. So there was a lot of juggling at that point, and then there are all these things that you think that you can plan, you can anticipate, but I think once you get into the real world, there's a lot of it's good and it's bad, right? Like, chaos is a ladder. To quote Littlefinger. For me,
Game of Thrones.
Exactly. Chaos has been something where I was able to learn a lot. I've had exposure to internal communications, social media, from every influencer marketing creation. I've managed a team. I've gotten to go to a lot of really cool places, but I can't, if I tell you that that was my plan all along, I'd be lying.
Well, I think one of the things that we could control is when we look for a position at a company is to think about it as a partnership. You're not going to go somewhere to be employed and not be a non-critical thinker. I mean, you could do that, and you'll easily find yourself unhappy. But if you want true happiness, seek a company and a position that you feel like you could partner with them, and it's treated as that partnership. You're going there to do a job. They're going there because they appreciate what you're doing. And then think about yourself as your own boss. Think about you take ownership of your career, of your path, the job you're doing. Sometimes it's not going to be you that knows how well, or rather, it's going to be you that knows how well you're doing in your career. Maybe not somebody else. Maybe not even your direct superior or your boss. The person that's going to be able to understand what you're doing the best is yourself. Give yourself those quarterly reviews and find that ownership of your career.
I definitely agree with you being in the driver's seat in terms of your career development. For me, what I have found is that on both sides, it's actually really motivational for me to keep track of the wins that I've had. So after you finish a project, I think sometimes you don't think about all the things that you're doing on a regular basis. Like, oh, I learned this skill and I picked up this, and you just keep moving along. And so I think that's helpful when you have meetings with your supervisor, and also can identify gaps. Like, oh, hey, there's an opportunity for someone on the team to learn XYZ because we have this other thing coming up. So I think that is good advice to be in charge of your career and your development.
Janelle?
I thought, I'm sorry, I was just kind of enamored. I thought this was really cool. For me, I guess on the other end entirely, I just started a new career, a little bit ago. I mean, it's been a while now, but yeah, my career path was, I started off planning absolutely everything, and then I got to a point where it was just like, and now I'm going to literally give up my entire life to do something else that's completely not what I thought it was, right? So, yeah, so for me, like, I'm still kind of feeling myself out, like trying to figure out what I need to do in my career to get to the next level at all points in time, right? And I don't know what that quite looks like for me. So it's kind of awesome to be able to learn from other people, especially like that advice of getting a career coach. I think that's pretty nifty.
Yes.
I think that's something that like I might have to look into for my own personal kind of selfish reasons, just to, now like see, okay, well, now that you're in a career, good job. Where do you want to go from here? Like, let's ask yourself some questions and, put on your big girl pants and be an adult.
Adulting.
Yeah.
Fun. You know what's interesting is they, in some of the research that I had done, most people will have 5 different careers in their lifetime. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'm due for one. I better hurry up. So just doing that gut check and going through the process. And what I ended up finding out is that I love storytelling. I love communicating with people, and I'm actually in the right spot, but I needed to do that self-discovery in order to be sure.
Well, does that also count work that you might do, like as far as contributing or doing for certain organizations, just charities and things like that?
Sure. Yep. That was one of the things. So this is pretty common. You're looking at your entire life and you're saying, okay, well, where are the imbalances? And one of the things that's really important to me is feeling like I'm giving back to my community. And so I've been volunteering with an organization called Shelterbox USA, and I've been working with them for several years, and I have helped them in a public relations capacity. And really, it's just all hands on deck. What do you need? Kind of thing. Like they might need some help setting up an event and talking to different people at a fair, as an example. And you just go out there and you do it.
That's cool. Can you tell us a little bit more about that organization?
Sure. Shelterbox USA is a disaster relief organization. And what they do is they deliver aid after natural disasters or war, conflict, that sort of thing. They're responding right now to Syria, and they will deliver the aid customized to the specific needs of that disaster. So it might include a tent, but it's a tent like nothing you've ever seen that can withstand 160 mile per hour winds and comfortably fit a family of 10 where everyone is able to stand up.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing organization. Do you mind just giving the URL to that so people could check that out?
Yep, shelterboxusa.com. Yeah, they're fantastic. And at any given time, they might be responding to, a dozen or more disasters. So, and they're volunteer based. So the vast majority of the people responding to the disasters are all volunteers. Great.
Wow, that's amazing. So how much time would you say that you dedicate to that?
I'm more of an episodic volunteer right now. They're actually having some staff changes on their end, and so they're retooling the committee that I've worked with to figure out how we can help the most. But basically, they'll send an email out and they'll say, hey, if anybody's able to help us, we're doing a fair at Ringling College of Art and Design, who can do it? And if I'm able to do it, I'll say, yes, I would love to do that. So it's need-based.
How do you balance that with the demands of your career at this point?
Well, one of the things that going through this process in terms of my personal priorities, one of the things that was top on my list was more time to volunteer and more community involvement. And I had decided a while ago that I was less interested in doing more professional development volunteering because I had done it for such a long time. I was looking for more of the feeling like I was making a difference. And that's one of the reasons that I ended up taking the position that I did with Boarhead, because they do a lot of giving, community giving. And so they work with Habitat for Humanity, and they work with the Salvation Army. And so it really aligned more with me in terms of my individual values.
Yeah.
When you say that filter of when you're playing your video and you're like, this is what I want for my life, it's easy for you to say, I gotta cut. If I want this, then I gotta do this.
Right. How does just to kind of pivot a little bit from there, what is it right now? What would you say that you do at your job and your company right now?
Sure. Well, I'm only 6 weeks in, so it's still pretty new. But one of the things that I'm going to be doing is I put together a communication strategy for how all of our different facilities and location and employees can know what they need to know and what they want to know. So there's team members that have been with the company 40 years, and just being able to share that when they first started, it was this, and the growth that they've had. A lot of times people started in one department, and then kind of similar to what you were saying in terms of a career shift. This company has been really generous in terms of supporting people in their areas of interest.
Cool. So you're like a growth strategist of sorts.
I'm more like a content. I'm a storyteller, basically, but it's internal. I'm an internal storyteller. Yeah.
What?
And
That's
there
amazing.
are, you know, like with wellness as an example, like, or there might be a change in benefits, that sort of thing. And then we're launching a new learning management system that will have unlimited opportunities for people, unlimited online opportunities for people to sign up for classes that they can watch on their phone. And then also there's instructor-led courses that you can sign up for. So basically, I get to communicate what's available to employees in terms of helping them with their wellness, helping them with their career growth, that sort of thing.
That's pretty cool. And they've been around for a long time. I think like I saw on the website 110 years. Is that right?
Over 110 years. Yep, 113.
Wow. That's
What?
amazing. Yeah, I think they'll be around for a while, longer than.
I think so.
So do you get free deli meats? Does somebody walk around during the day with a deli platter? Here you go. Here's your pinwheel, Miss Eyer.
They make them out of airplanes. And you just, actually, no, they don't throw meat at you.
Oh, I was
That's what I was thinking too. I was like taking the ham, folding it up. Watch out.
I was thinking like Harry Potter, right? Like you'd get owls.
That would be better.
Hashtag ham plane.
They would eat all of your cheese. Those owls. I actually do get a complimentary lunch, which is really nice.
Oh, that's nice.
That is really cool.
I like lunch.
Me too.
I love lunch.
Second breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
I have a coworker that does second lunch. It's like the coolest because like then he takes time to actually be like, hey Janelle, I'm eating Hobbit lunch. So do you have anything that you need questions or anything like that? And I'm like, yes, Hobbit lunch is my favorite time of the day.
Is that more fun?
It's more. I think more of it is for me. It's more of like he's like, I'm hungry and I'm gonna take time to eat my food. And so since I have to eat food and I can't type, I will help you. So I will answer questions in between bites.
I observe Hobbit lunch in high tea, so every day.
I love it. It's amazing.
My last question I wanted to ask you about this, Amanda, because I know we got to start to close out in just a minute, is the last part, which is there's some people that look at careers as something they should do every a few years, like work at some place. I've seen this go around the internet quite a bit, where someone will work at 2 years and they'll jump another job and try to just keep upping their titles or pay or something like that. What do you guys think about that kind of logic in one's career path?
I don't know that it's wrong or right. I think it's based on the individual. If there's a certain skill set that you think that you can't get where you are by doing freelance even or that sort of thing, and you feel like the only way to get to where you want to go or to grow is to take another position, or sometimes I've had it where an opportunity will fall in your lap and you're like, this is just too good for me not to take it. From a hiring side, I haven't ever not hired someone because they've been in their position under 3 or 4 or 5 years. I think millennials and zillennials are just interning now, right? They tend to stay in their job 2 years and then they move on. So that some of that is, I think organizations need to do a little bit more work in terms of keeping their interest. So I remember I read something last week. This is crazy to me. So millennials, in terms of their number one perk, what they value more than wellness,
Ice cream.
And, ice cream more than ice cream. There actually is an ice cream truck that Boar's Head brings to the office once a month. It's kind of funny. Anyways, but what they value most of all is they would like to have 15 minutes of time with their supervisor where they get feedback. 15 minutes. That's all they're asking for is just feedback. So anyways, I don't think it's right or wrong for you to stay under over. But what do you think, Janelle?
I love that. As a millennial, I would highly I would say that actually fits with what I want. And I'm really lucky to be at a company that actually gives that to me, which is really great. So it's also my dream company, but that's neither here nor there. But like, yeah, no, I think that for a lot of people my age, especially in tech, or near my age, or even not near my age, really, I think it's just a tech thing. They kind of stay at a job for about a year, maybe 2 years, because we're very developers are always in need anywhere and everywhere. So a lot of the times people will be like, well, I can get $20,000 if I like stay for here, like, right? Like I'll stay here. And then in a year, I can get $20,000 more just by moving laterally at a different place, right? Have the same title, same experience technically, but I'm getting paid $20,000 more, right, at a different company. And I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad, because you don't necessarily know what that person needs. But I mean, if it's just something that they want to constantly like change culture and adapt to new people, like by all means, go for it, right? Like if you're cool with like changing teams all the time, like awesome, high five, do you? For me personally, I want a team that I'm going to like click with and, we're going to be happy forever and ever. And, that's just me, but.
Yeah, the things I've read that people were talking about where they were saying that, well, you could find value in all the experience I've had. I worked with this kind of team and this kind of team and that kind of team. And it seems like they're thinking about it as like notches to say like, I've earned this medal and this medal and that medal. And I just wonder how much value there actually is when somebody's looking at that. Like if, I don't know if they're thinking about it as far as like, I achieved this goal and that goal and that goal, but I don't know if that's completely relevant to one's career development, or if you could find the same kind of opportunities, regardless of that, within a company that you're already at. I guess it really depends.
I will say there's only been one time that I left a company and it wasn't for a better opportunity. It was because I was running to get away because I did not, it wasn't a cultural fit.
And that's a good thing too. You don't want to stay someplace where you feel like you're drowning.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you should definitely try to see if there's any kind of opportunities within yourself to make a change or change where you're at. And if you can't find that, then yeah, maybe it is time for you to go. So, hey, Janelle, we're getting really close, and I think maybe we skip the spotlight question and go to the rapid fire and then announce some kind of contest. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
All right, so take us off. So, what is this rapid fire thing?
Alrighty, so rapid fire is a fun little time where we get to, for the next like 3 minutes or so, we get to ask you all of the questions that we didn't get to ask you, but in just quick succession. So you essentially get like 12 seconds to answer each and every one. We're timing it to the second.
Or they could be fun questions too.
They're also fun questions as well. So something like, we could do something very simple to kind of just start you off with. So Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
What's your favorite thing about yourself?
I like to laugh.
What's the best way to deal with a terrible coworker?
Hide under your desk.
What was your favorite cartoon as a kid?
Oh, Looney Tunes.
Nice. Aw, love that. What is your favorite toy as a kid?
I had a homemade Cabbage Patch Kid that I tried to write Tiffany across her butt cheeks, and I couldn't write, and so like the T and the I was like going around her belly. I'm sorry.
Isn't that the shirt you wore the day after yesterday?
No.
You're a liar. Yes, it is.
Okay, yes, you got me.
That's such a weird question. Do Twitter followers matter?
I'm a little off social right now. They matter to somebody.
Amanda.
Yes.
What kind of clothes does a house wear?
A moo.
An address.
That's good. That's good.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Chocolate.
Amanda, what's the first thing you see after you die and you open your eyes?
I hope chocolate.
Me too. All right, I think that's it. Frederick's done. We're cutting Frederick off on questions.
That's pretty good. All right, so before we continue, and we got a short little bit after this, let's go ahead, everybody, and announce the winner to the Front End Design Conference. Janelle, can you take us off? You're going to show us?
Okay.
Do you know how to show your screen on this?
I hope so, because we have not tried this ever at all.
There's that presenter or screen share. You see that on the left?
I do. Let me hide all of my terrible things.
You can, when you do it, you could pick a certain application. So you can
perfect.
Screen share with an application.
I like that. That's a good thing. Okay, so application window. Yay! All right, we're gonna start off sharing. If I can find my mouse on here. Beautiful. Can everyone see my wonderful terminal here?
Yes. Yeah. We'll stop talking. You got to talk so we can see
it. Cool. So, we were going to use a randomizer on the interwebs, and I was just like, that's kind of crazy. Let's not do that. We're tech people. We can build a thing. And so I was going to build it on CodePen and make it very beautiful. But then you all wouldn't be able to see the code as we're doing it, right? And then, we could be like, oh man, that was rigged, right? And we're not rigging anything. So we're going to live code this in a terminal so you all can see how to do this. So right now I am in a Ruby terminal, and I'm going to show you all how to do this yourselves. So if you ever need this in the future. So we're going to go with some random keywords. We'll do 3. Amanda, if you could pick 3 words for me.
Dog. Chocolate.
One more.
Beach.
Alrighty, so we have an array and we're going to sample it, and that will randomize it, and we're going to hit enter, and boom, chocolate is the winner. And then
I love chocolate. It's the winner.
That was not weighted because you obviously saw that happen just now. And then we're going to do it one more time. And chocolate wins again. Chocolate always wins. And then beach. So you can see that. All right, cool. Now I have prepared already this wonderful array of all of the wonderful winners. So this next one right here is going to be the winner. All right. So everybody give me a drum roll. Live coding. All right. We're going to have to come back to me. Womp womp.
Everybody was like, "What was the
Chocolate win.
Chocolate won for sure."
Okay, you figure that out. We'll get back to you in a second.
I forgot IRB. I just literally.
Okay, you go ahead. Let's get back to the screen share.
Okay, hold on. Let me actually have buttons of buttonosity.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. Buttons! Where are you, buttons?
We don't see your screen.
I know, my buttons aren't being buttons.
Oh, you gotta roll over.
I did that. Alrighty. IRB. Got it. Done. Boom. Copy pasted. Enter, and Catherine Trammell!
The winner!
Yeah!
Congratulations. You can see it right there. You won 1 free ticket to the Front End Design Conference. Congratulations. We will tweet out the winner after the show, and we're very happy for you, and we'll see you there. Come see us at the show. Brian's going to be signing hats and kissing babies with markers, apparently. He's a weirdo. Yes. And we're going to be doing a live show. What?
He said permanent marker, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's going to be kissing babies with a permanent marker. He's a horrible person. Love you, Brian. Miss you. Brian's on vacation, everybody, in New Orleans. He's doing some weird vampire thing because he's an Anne Rice fan. Everybody make fun of him on Twitter. So let's go ahead and get back to the show. Let's see. Amanda, we got 2 last things to ask you. Do you have any kind of final words that you want to provide to our audience? Any kind of words of wisdom?
I would say it's good for you to invest in a career coach. If you don't want to make the leap and actually set up appointments, there's a lot of online materials that you can find and books that you can read that are really helpful. Same thing with happiness hacks. Simple, I'm into micro changes, little things that you can do to try to develop a skill or change a way of being.
That's great advice. And the last thing I want to ask you, Amanda, is how can people learn more about you? How can we get in contact with you?
You could email me. My email is Amanda, EYER 711 @gmail.
Wow, giving away an email. Nice. Good for you.
Yeah.
Any website, or what's your Twitter handle too? How can people tweet you, DM you? What's your Twitter handle?
I'm bad with Twitter right now. I had to put part of my journey was to limit my screen time, to be honest.
Oh, fair. That's fair.
Yeah, that's really good. All right. Well, hey, Amanda, thank you so much for spending some time with us and joining us on the show. There was a lot of really good takeaways here. A lot of good life hacks, happiness hacks, and thoughts on how we should make the right decisions within our careers.
Yeah, we super appreciate it. And this is really meant, I think, a lot to me. One, because, I mean, somebody else watches Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, so that's pretty amazing, first and foremost.
Yes.
And second, like, you're just a joy to have. I love that. You've been really great.
You guys, thanks for having me. Had a great week.
Thank you, Amanda.